Ian Gary is easily the most hated man in the UFC. Ian Gary is back in the headlines again, and it's not for good reason. Ian Gary recently had an interview, and it's so obnoxious, so pretentious. Holy shit. You kind of have to just watch it yourself, but he tries to come across as this pseudo-philosopher, and I feel like he's trying to emulate being a deep thinker rather than actually being one. From the visualization stuff to the claims of having no fear, all of these things, especially how he tries to explain it, sounds so fake, man. And he does this thing where he dramatically pauses that I notice a lot in his interviews, and he also does it in his Ariel Helwani interview here. But the big one in this interview that made everyone hate Ian was the part where he claims that the world would be better if women ruled it, which, oh my god, dude, this guy is so obnoxious. I'm not saying this is a good or bad message, but the way he tries to describe it is so white knight. You ever see that video of that kid going, "Coach is right, if we want to win, it's on us"? He's literally that guy, that kid. Everyone wants to tell him to shut up on the bus. And what makes this interview worse is that his brother even comments on the video, calling him out for some of the claims that his family didn't support him. So why does Ian Gary continue to be so unlikable? From his controversy with his wife, to him getting kicked out of every gym because everyone he's trained with hates him, to everyone online hating him for this interview, including his brother. Let's go down the rabbit hole and find out why everyone hates Ian Gary. All right, so we obviously have to start with the big one, his wife. 2 years ago, this thing was huge. It really started with Sean Strickland posting a bunch of videos about how Ian Gary's wife is a succubus, pretty much painting her out to be a gold digger. This was made even worse when it came out that Layla, Ian Gary's wife, wrote a book called How to Be a Wag, which, for those who don't know, WAG stands for Wives and Girlfriends, referring to the women who get with younger athletes to take advantage of their fame, fortune, and lifestyle. To her credit, it is supposed to be satire, and it's only 17 pages long, but when you add this on top of Ian Gary taking her last name to be Ian Machado Gary, and Layla being 14 years older, and Layla's ex-husband being Ian Gary's nutritionist at one point, starting in 2021, yeah, that's an actual fact, it doesn't paint the best picture. And yeah, during this time, Ian Gary was getting shit on bad. Everyone was on Ian for this one, and remember, Ian's wife was trying to fight back with defamation lawsuits against Sean Strickland and was going off on MMA Guru and all the other YouTubers covering this situation. This was definitely the one that made fans and the internet really dislike Ian Gary. But before this, he was apparently very disliked by the guys he trained with behind the scenes as well. During this whole wife fiasco, Ian Gary had also separated from Team Renegade, which is Leon Edwards' gym. He claimed that he was no longer welcome at that gym because, quote, Leon doesn't want any insecurities or doubts in his own gym, which is a crazy thing to say considering this was 2 years ago when Ian Gary was only a prospect, and I don't even think he was ranked at the time, while this was peak Leon Edwards, who had just come off of defending his title against Kamaru Usman and was going to defend against Colby Covington. Leon responded with, "I think everyone knows that's bullshit. I'm on top of my game." Basically, the gym decided that he wasn't fitting for the gym. We're just too different. The culture in our gym, he's like a talker, a social media guy, brings his cameras everywhere. He's late to sessions. It's like two different cultures to what we have in our gym. The guys decided, not because of me. And then Team Renegade themselves would say, sometimes the coaches allow fighters to come in from the outside, but this is very much a privilege and not the norm. If the coaches feel it's not adding to the team's culture, a fighter is refused entrance. Ian Gary's more nomadic approach to preparation has given him great results, but it's not in line with what we are creating at Team Renegade. This has nothing to do with one specific fighter or a specific coach, which is a pretty nice way of responding to Ian Gary, who claimed that he was just better than Leon Edwards at this point. And apparently the situation would also bring up the fact that Ian was also kicked out of another gym when he was in Cage Warriors. Team KF had released a statement right after Ian Gary's last Cage Warriors fight, insinuating Ian Gary no longer abided by the gym's values of loyalty, honor, and respect, and Ian Gary became uncoachable after he had hired a new manager and after repeated warnings was no longer welcomed in the club. So yeah, this pattern is definitely showing this is an Ian Gary thing and not a gym thing, and that his attitude and personality would be so annoying for others to deal with that they would have to kick him out of the gym despite how good he was becoming. But after all the controversy started to die down, the Ian Gary hate also started to die down as well, and actually he was starting to become a little likable and people were starting to give him his respect considering how good he was actually becoming. When the controversy died down, Ian Gary got to work and started to fight some killers. He first took on Shavkat Rakhmonov on short notice, and despite losing, had a very impressive performance, showing that he was hard to take down and was also able to show his jiu-jitsu improvements when he was able to get Shavkat's back and threaten this rear naked choke. It was a very good performance in a loss, considering Shavkat was a monster at this time and literally finished every one of his fights up until this one. Then Ian would go on to fight Carlos Prates, also on kind of short notice, another dangerous name in the division, and would outstrike him for most of this fight, avoiding getting finished towards the end. 2 killers in a row was definitely enough to have people starting to respect Ian and also forget about his controversies in the past. Then, after he beat former champion Belal Muhammad in a pretty convincing win, he set himself up against the champion Islam Makhachev, which could be interesting considering he has the height, age, and reach advantage, along with very solid jiu-jitsu and, of course, very elite striking. So yeah, up until like 2 weeks ago, Ian Gary, maybe not the most likable guy, but he was definitely receiving a lot less hate. Until this interview. Oh my god, this interview comes out and then you are reminded why everybody hated Ian Gary in the first place, and especially when he said women should rule the world. Everybody hated that. And ironically, Ian Gary criticized his mom for not supporting his dreams of becoming a professional MMA fighter and not coming to his fights, despite understanding that she was probably just concerned for his well-being. But the whole thing came off like he just wasn't supported in general growing up. It was so bad that his brother came out against him in this comment on that very video to call him out. He said, "Ian, you're not a victim. You act like we were beaten as kids. We grew up in a middle-class house and had everything we wanted. You're the type of guy to take money off his parents and never pay them back." I think the word is entitled. We had everything a child could need. Oh no, you got paid to go to college and your mother was stressed. You got flown all over the world with boxing, yet you talk about them not supporting you. Dad personally got involved in your boxing the whole time, even when he was sick and in chronic pain. Do me a favor and explain that one, Ian. We attended every one of your fights and we always believed you could do it. But Layla, who met you when you were only a few fights away from the UFC, is suddenly the one who had faith? Ooh, shit. Okay. No way, really. You were already there. You're an avoidant person like me, but I've grown up emotionally unlike you. You hide from negativity because you can't cope with the reality of your own actions. Missing your granddad's funeral. Was that a real man thing to do? Not even a text, lad. I'm missing something here. World run by Layla. More like, and then this link goes to a YouTube video of a young Ian Gary talking about how much his family actually supported him. Funny, before you met her, you talked about your family very differently. Or were you still too immature at 21? Funny that. Do me a favor, Ian. I've been so quiet about your situation because I still feel bad for you. But if you even think about spreading this bullshit again, I will make the full truth clear in its entirety, and that's a promise. Wait 10 years, quote. You do realize we will not be waiting for you in 10 years' time. I want you to think about that. My patience with you, Ian, has worn thin. I do hope you mature one day, Ian, but I'm going to be honest, I will not wait 10 years for you to grow up and admit your fault. Delete count 4. Talk about controlling the narrative, delete it again, and I'm not going to hold back. Also, to be clear, I'm not talking about lots of money here. That's not really the point. I mean, 50 pound, and I think he meant to say like for dad a few times, that sort of thing. He wouldn't do it if it was substantial. That was misleading on my part. Didn't really think of the gravity of this. And then the second link is just a screenshot showing that Ian Gary does indeed follow him, Sean Gary, on Twitter. So I believe this is real. So yeah, it's looking pretty bad that everyone on the internet, including his own brother, is calling him out for how annoying he is and how much his wife has changed him and just made him so unlikable. I might be the only one who wants to like Ian Gary because I've been saying this from the start. He has a very high level skill set that gives everyone in this division problems. He's tall, lengthy, has a high fight IQ, very elite striking, but still knows how to grapple and has very underrated jiu-jitsu. That's an interesting skill set to match up against Islam Makhachev. That's going to happen in a couple weeks, but even in the future too, to match up against Michael Morales or JDM or anyone else in this division, that is a very interesting matchup in my opinion. But every time this guy opens his mouth, he's actively taking away from how good he is. And the headlines are now about how much of an asshole he is rather than how much of a threat he could be in this division. I just need this guy to keep a podcast mic away from his mouth. But anyways, what do you guys think about Ian Gary? Do you hate him because of how obnoxious and annoying he is? Do you still respect his skill set? Do you think that despite all the noise about his personality and how annoying he is and the shit he says, is he going to still come out there and perform against Islam Makhachev and potentially beat him? I don't know. Like I've said, I think Ian Gary is very good as a fighter, but he annoys the hell out of me as a person. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on the topics in this video. And thank you guys for always supporting. I'll see you in the next one.